Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well today. I think that it's a super awesome opportunity for the Coast Guard to be highlighted here at the museum. Thank you for allowing me to present this slideshow on behalf of Coast Guard Sector Mobile, just to show you a little bit more about who we are and what exactly we do. And first, I'll start off with the Coast Guard has 11 statutory missions. Coast Guard Sector Mobile, I would say, touches on most of these, some more than others. The ICE operations, it's a little bit too hot for that down here, but I would say most of the other ones we do on a day-to-day basis. And I have a short video just to highlight some of the missions in the big Coast Guard and what that looks like. Actually, fun fact about me, the last video, I think it's a pretty popular and it kind of went viral, the video of the man in camo banging on the semi-submersible. I was actually, the Coast Guard Cutter Monroe, which I was stationed on, that was one of our operations that we did, and I was on board the Monroe. At that time, I was actually conning the ship when that was happening, so it's definitely the Coast Guard has taken me some pretty interesting places, and I've gotten to see a lot of cool things, but I always think it's just a fun fact that I got to be a part of history like that. At Sector Mobile, our command, we have a sector commander who is Captain Mullins. Our deputy commander is Captain Tucker. And then we have a command Master Chief McKay. Just to break down where we are in terms of big picture Coast Guard, the Coast Guard is split up into PAC area and then Atlantic area, and then from there, we are also split up into what we call districts. We are part of District 8, which as you can see, that's the middle of the US, and it includes all the western rivers, as well as a good portion of the Gulf of Mexico. And as you can see, Sector Mobile's AOR is that bottom right part of District 8's area of responsibility. That's what I mean when I say AOR. So Sector Mobile's AOR, we have a pretty large and diverse area of responsibility. We have 4 states, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and then a little bit of Georgia. We have 5 deep water ports, including 2 shallow water ports in addition to those 5 deep water ports. And then we have over 1,700 nautical miles of inland rivers and coastal waterways that we have oversight over. And then the Port of Mobile is actually the 10th largest port in the US. And then just to go over some assets that we have at Sector, we have 4 patrol cutters. 2 are stationed in Mobile and 2 are stationed in Panama City. And these are 87-foot cutters. They have a wide range of missions, anything from fisheries boardings to search and rescue. They really do a lot in our area. Like I said, we have 4 of those. For aids to navigation, we have 2 cutters, like is pictured here, and then we also have what we call ANTs, or aids to navigation teams. And their jobs are to just go out and maintain, inspect all the aids to navigation. So that's all the buoys, all the day boards. If there's a bad storm and when the day boards gets knocked over, then it's their responsibility to go out and replace it, make sure that aid to navigation has the correct characteristics and is in the correct location on the chart. And then Aviation Training Center Mobile, they're their own separate entity, but we do work with them a lot, especially for search and rescue cases and training. Probably the demonstration will show you better what they do later than what I can say about them. But we also have 5 small boat stations, and just like our patrol cutters, they do a wide range of missions from boardings and escorts, and they're a really good asset to have for specifically search and rescue because they can respond really quick as long as the weather permits it and they're within their range. And to break down some of the departments that we have at Sector, we'll start out with Sector Response. The first division in response is the Incident Management Division, and they deal with all things pollution. So if there's an oil spill, they'll go out there and they'll assess the situation, see where it's coming from, how much oil is spilled, and then they provide oversight of cleaning up that oil. On average, they deal with about 1,500 pollution cases a year. Also, something pretty cool about them is that they use drones as pictured here, and that just gives them a bird eye view, and they can get a better assessment of where the oil is coming from, where it's going to, and how much oil there is. The second division in response is Maritime Security Enforcement, and they do security boarding, so some of the foreign vessels that are coming in that might be flagged for security issues, they'll go on board, do their inspection and ensure that they are secure enough to enter our port safely. They also assist the small boats with their boarding, or the small boat stations with their boardings, and they do escorts throughout the port as well. And then the third division in response is Living Marine Resources. So whether that's helping the small boat stations with the fishery boardings, ensuring that boaters are complying to the fishing regulations, or cases like this is one of my favorite pictures that we have, where a shark actually got tangled in some line mixed in with that buoy, and one of our small boat stations went out and freed the shark. The Sector Command Center, so search and rescue is really their bread and butter. It's what they're really good at and what they do. Whether that's a vessel taking on water, a vessel on fire, they get the report, they assess the situation, they figure out which assets would be best suited for this particular case, and then they launch them. And then throughout the case, they'll monitor the situation, change as needed, and then hopefully it results in a rescue or such. Another department that we have at Sector is the Emergency Management and Force Readiness. So they say a natural disaster comes, I won't say the H word, but the season that we are in. But that's really a big part of their job and what they do. They ensure that our sector is trained and prepared for when something like that happens. And it's not just natural disasters either. That's also including if there was a big security incident that happened in the port, or a major oil spill, something that just has a large significant impact on the port. They'll implement what we call an incident management team, and it's for the larger scale responses for events. And they work closely with other local, state, and federal agencies. So sector prevention, that's actually the department that I'm in. I'm specifically in domestic vessel inspections. And so domestic meaning all U.S. flagged ships. So some of the examples of vessels that we go out on are the passenger vessels, charter fishing vessels down in Orange Beach, a lot of the towing vessels that are on the rivers. Some of the barges, we'll do vessel inspections on them, and that's just making sure that they're compliant with all the safety, life-saving, fire safety regulations that they need to adhere to. And then also, Mobile's AOR is responsible for 43% of the whole nation's new construction. So we're a major new construction port, and we provide oversight on everything that's being built down here. The second division within prevention is the Port State and Facilities Division, and they do exactly what Domestics does in terms of inspections, but it's for all the foreign flagged vessels coming into our area. So think the container ships that come down here, the tank vessels that come in. We go on board and then ensure that they're adhering to all of their regulations that apply to them. And then also we manage the facilities and ensure that those facilities are also adhering to their own regulations in terms of safety and security. And then we also have waterways in the ATON management team, and they're in charge of all of those aids to navigation assets that I talked about earlier, the ANT teams and the cutters. And then another big part of their job is, say there's a hazard in the waterway, like a partially submerged barge. They'll provide oversight of responding to that, so informing the public that there's a barge in this water, or in this specific area of this waterway, like stay clear of it. And then also figuring out who's responsible to remove that barge and how are they going to do it safely. And then lastly, we have investigations, and every time that there's a marine casualty, so say a fire or maybe a boat sank, they're going to go out, they're going to collect evidence, interview the witnesses, and figure out why did this happen. And then from there, once they have their why, they're going to really look into what can we do about this? What can we learn about it? Is there anything that we can change? Whether that be maybe revoking a mariner's license or recommending for new policy to be implemented to ensure that incidents like this don't happen again. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.